that law was not really universally good, but it was particularly and contextually good for you, for your specific reality and need. Mark 3:4, then Jesus asked them, which is lawful on the Sabbath, to do good or to do evil, to save life or to kill? In other words, hindi lahat ng sinasabi ng law ay good universally, all the time, everywhere, for everybody. Kasi pati si Jesus sinasabi niya, ano ba talaga ang kahulugan ng law? Ano ba ang good sa Sabbath? Good ba na gumawa ng good? O good ba na hindi gumawa ng good kasi Sabbath? So, sabi ni Jesus, the law was not good for doing the necessary good. Merong dapat gawin, hindi magawa dahil sa law, dahil sa Sabbath. So, good ba talaga lagi yung Sabbath? Sa Ama, kay Jesus, hindi laging good ang effect ng law. Makikita natin yan sa pagbabasa natin ng napakaraming katuruan. Hindi universal or absolute ang application ng law. Hindi dapat maging burden ang law. Dapat ang law ay pampaayos, pampagaan, pampadali, pampaligaya sa buhay. Kay Jesus, dapat user-friendly ang law. Dapat interpret and apply the law in helpful, loving ways. Kaya sabi niya sa Matthew 12:12, is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath? Ask another way, tinatanong ni Jesus, masama bang gumawa ng mabuti pag Sabbath? Kasi sa Sabbath ay bawal gumawa ng mabuti man o ng hindi mabuti. Pero kung kailangan gumawa ng mabuti sa Sabbath, alin ang mas mabuti? Yung sundin ang Sabbath at huwag gumawa ng mabuti? O labagin ang Sabbath at gumawa ng mabuti? Very, very interesting questions. Kasi sa buhay natin, because of conditioning, cultural conditioning, religious conditioning, napakarami na ginagawa natin ang dahil lang yun ang sinasabi ng law, yun ang sinasabi ng society, yun ang sinasabi ng kalakaran. Pero yung ba talaga ang tunay na universal good? O may good yun in a certain time, in a certain place, but not all the time, for all people, in all places. What are the verses implying? That actually, really, the good is what the law says is good, but my nature says is not really me? But I am not by nature? Paano po natin i-reconcile yan, mga kapatid? Na sinasabi ng batas, ito ang good. Pero yung bawat himay-may ng yung laman, bawat ideya na nasa yung isip, yung ikaw na ikaw, iba talaga. Iba dun sa sinasabi ng law na good. Therefore, the good, according to the law, is undoable. Romans 3:20, therefore, no one will be declared righteous in God's sight by works of the law. Rather, through the law, we become conscious of sin. So, malinaw sinasabi ni Paul, walang magiging good kung ang panukatan ay yung law. Kasi yung law na tinatawag nating good, walang good enough to follow it. So, dapat tanongin, talaga bang good yung law? Kung wala namang taong good enough to obey it, therefore, yung law only condemns us and makes us look bad. The good ba, according to the law, is burdensome? Luke 11:45-46, Jesus replied, and you experts in the law, woe to you, because you load people down with burdens they can hardly carry. Sabi ni Jesus, yung law ninyo, hindi mabuhat ng tao. Napakahirap, pinapahirap ang buhay. At lahat ng hindi makakaya, hindi makabuhat, nagmumukha tuloy masama. Dahil Wala namang makakabuhat niyan. So, mabuti ba talaga yung mga laws na yan? The good ba, according to the law, is making me look very bad? A grand failure? Guilty and afraid? Therefore, a child of hell or hell-bound? Sabi ni Jesus tungkol sa law at sa mga nagpapatupad nito, Matthew 23:15, "Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You travel over land and sea to win a single convert, and when you have succeeded, you make them twice as much a child of hell as you are." So, yung ba talagang sinasabi ng law na good ay good? Sabi ni Jesus, "Nako, lagot kayo, mga teachers of the law. Nagpapakahirap pa kayo mag-convert ng mga tao to your law. Pag na-convert nyo na, ginagawa nyo lang doble ang kasamaan kasi they are declared sinful by the same law that you convert them to." Pag napasunod nyo na sila sa law, nagiging failure sila. Nagiging mukha silang mali at masama. So sabi, lagot kayo dahil pinapahirapan nyo lang ang inyong mga converts. The good according to the law ba is making me needy of the ministrations of the temple and priests. Therefore, the law makes me dependent on religion incorporated. The good ba, according to the law, is making me judge and condemn myself and others. Therefore, talagang nakakasama sa akin yung law. What if the verses are implying that actually, really, the bad is what I naturally like to do? The law is demonizing my nature. The bad is what my nature says is good, is really me. That the bad is what I am by nature. Na nagmumukha lang akong bad, not by my nature, but by the judgment of the law. 1 Corinthians 9:9-10, "For it is written in the law of Moses, do not muzzle an ox while it is treading out the grain. Huwag daw itali ang bibig, huwag busalan, huwag takpan ang bibig noong hayop na nagigiik ng mga grains kasi dapat siyang pwedeng yumuko, kumain ng mga grain na ginigiik niya." So, is it against the animal's nature to want to eat? Why prohibit or criminalize hunger? Ang nature ng animal na yon, magugutom siya, so huwag daw siyang bawalan. Paano yung nature ng mga tao? Babawalan sila na maging totoo sa kanilang nature? O pinagmumukha silang masama kasi hindi nila matupad yung mga law dahil minamasama ng law kung ano yung kaya nilang tuparin at ang ipinatutupad ay yung hindi nila kayang tuparin. Yung tungkol sa oxen na yan, is it about oxen that God is concerned? Sabi ni Jesus. Surely, He says this for us, doesn't He? Yes, this was written for us. Na ang lesson, pag in-apply natin, do not criminalize human need and desire. Do not criminalize reality. Because we were fearfully and wonderfully made. But the law criminalizes what is natural to humans. Therefore, the law makes everyone guilty. That's why the law is not good for people. Kaya sabi ni Jesus, woe to you, you teachers of the law and Pharisees. You travel over land and sea to win a single convert to your law, and when he becomes a convert, you make him twice as much a sinner, because you put him under the law that makes him look bad. Is it the bad according to the law that is natural and doable to me? Is it the bad according to the law that is not burdensome, but light and easy and restful to me? Is it the bad according to the law that is really good for me? So, kakontra ng aking nature yung itinuturo ng law. So, the law criminalizes me. The law punishes me for being me. For being who I am. For being what I was created. Except when loving, what I need and want should not be regarded as unlawful. Yan ang unsaid doon sa mga questions na yan ni Paul. Romans 13:10, love does no harm to a neighbor, therefore love is the fulfillment of the law. So pagka-loving, lawful. Pag hindi against love, hindi unlawful. So ang dami-daming unlawful according to the law, kahit hindi naman yun unloving. What if it's not really God, but only religious law that demonizes me? It's a good question to ask. Lagi akong guilty, lagi akong masama. Diyos ba talaga ang naguhusga sa akin? O yun lang law? Yun lang religious law? how much of that religious law is universal in its application? How much of that law is really from God? O marami ba dyan ay nilikha ng religion for convention, for management, for administration, or for specific needs of specific people at specific times, but should not be universalized because it would be a burden to everybody? What if it's not really God, but only religious law that demonizes me? Acts 13:39, through Him, everyone who believes is set free from every sin. A justification you were not able to obtain under the law of Moses. Sa pamamagitan daw ni Jesus, lahat ng naniniwala ay pinalalaya mula sa kasalanan. Kasalanan na sinabi ng law na kasalanan. At ito daw ay justification, pagpapawalang sala, at hindi ito pwedeng ma-obtain under the law of Moses. It is obtained under the grace of God through Jesus. So kung talaga ang lahat ng minamasama ng law ay masama, bakit ka palalayain ng Diyos through Jesus? O minasama lang yon specifically for the needs of ancient Israel? Dapat tanungin niya mga ganyang bagay. Kasi kung ang talagang law ay good, bakit sisirain ni Jesus? Bakit tayo palalayain from the law kung yun ang dapat at maganda? O hindi na yun bagay at hindi na yun maganda for all people at all time? O religious system lamang ang may kagagawa ng gano'ng mga bagay at hindi ang Diyos? Kasi kung ang Diyos ang may kagagawa nun, bakit sisirain ni Jesus? Kontra ba siya sa Diyos? O kontra lang siya sa law? What if it's not really God but only religious law that makes me look bad? That makes me look like a grand failure? That makes me guilty and afraid? That makes me seem like a child of hell, which is, of course, hell-bound? What if it's not really God but only religious law that makes me look needy of the ministrations of the temple and priests? That makes me dependent on religion? If perfection could have been attained through the Levitical priesthood, and indeed the law given to the people established by that priesthood, why was there still need for another priest to come? One in the order of Melchizedek or Jesus-ness, not in the order of Aaron or Moses-ness. Yan ang tanong ng Acts 13:39 and so on. At sabi sa Galatians 2:21, if righteousness could be gained through the law, Christ died for nothing. So yung Galatians clear, hindi ka magiging righteous through the law. That's why kinailangan mamatay si Jesus para kailigtas sa law. So yung ba talagang law ay good? Kasi kung yun ay good, edi dapat yun ang ipilit at dapat ipapataw sa lahat. Pero bakit tayo pinalaya ni Jesus mula sa law? What if it's not really God but only religious law that makes me judge and condemn myself and others? What is our assurance that the religious teachings, the things that religion demonizes, mga ipinagbabawal, minamasama, talagang yun na yun, eksaktong-eksakto nga, ang katuruan galing sa Diyos. Alam natin kahit sa Bible, maraming sinasabi ang Diyos dyan na, your prophets are telling you things that never came from me. Na maraming mga false prophets, maraming mga false teachers. At maraming mismo mga katuruan na pinaniniwalaan ng mga ancient Jews noon na talagang dapat strictly sundin nila na biglang iniba ni Jesus. Iniba niya ang application, iniba niya ang interpretation. So, ano ang assurance natin na yung pinagpapakamatayan nating sundin ng mga religious laws ay galing nga sa Diyos? Na ang mga pagtitiis natin, mga pagtitimpi ay kinalulugod nga ng Diyos o baka imbento lang yun ng mga religious systems. Kaya dapat reviewin ng lahat ng yan. Kasi kahit yung sense of morality, even in the Bible, inside the Bible, ay naiiba-iba sa pagdaan ng panahon. Kasi syempre, what is law? The laws of the land, the laws of a people, only reflect the needs, the values, the priorities of their time. Kaya pati ang constitution ng mga bansa, binabago-bago yan, ina-update-update, kasi naiiba ang mga katotohanan that govern the life of the people. So yung mga condemn tayo sa sarili natin dahil iniisip natin, kinokondemn yun ng Diyos, totoo kaya? Gaano katotoo? Gaano kalaki ang mga needless sacrifices, needless na pagtitiis, dahil akala natin yun ang nire-require ng Diyos. Gaano tayo nagiging malupit sa sarili at sa kapwa, dahil akala natin yun ang gusto ng Diyos, yun naman pala hindi. Ang mahalaga, reviewin lahat ang mga religious beliefs, tingnan ang mga historical sources ng mga beliefs na yan, yung mga historical context, at tingnan kung yan pa rin ang marapat sa panahon na ito. Si Jesus mismo, napakaraming iniba sa mga kaugalian, mga katuruan, mga batas pang-araw-araw na buhay ng mga Israelites. Galatians 5:4, you who are trying to be justified by the law have been alienated from Christ. You have fallen away from grace. Pumasok ang panahon ng kabaitan, ng pag-ibig, ng tinatawag na age of grace, kasabay ni Jesus. Kaya ang sinasabi ng Galatians, kung pinipilit nyo pa rin na maging katanggap-tanggap kayo sa Diyos sa pamamagitan ng pagsunod sa mga batas, sa mga kautusan, ang tinatanggihan nyo na niyan, si Jesus. Pagpilit pa rin kayong nagpapaligtas sa pagsunod sa law, hindi kayo nagpapaligtas kay Jesus. Kasi dumating si Jesus para iligtas kayo from the law. But if you insist on obeying the law to be acceptable to God, then you are rejecting the very sacrifice of Jesus, the very gift of love, the very gift of grace and life from God through Jesus. Because of pressure, ang parang sinasabi nito, I pretend to like to do what I do not like. And I pretend to not like to do what I naturally like to do. And this is what Jesus calls hypocrisy. Dahil sa pressure, dahil pinagbabawal ng relihiyon, at dahil sa pagpuri ng relihiyon sa ibang bagay at pagpinta sa ibang bagay, nagpapanggap ako na gusto kong gawin yung ayaw ko naman talaga. At nagpapanggap akong ayaw na ayaw ko. Yung talagang sa totoo lang ay gusto ko. At ayaw na ayaw ni Jesus yan, hypocrisy. Kasi ang tao ay hati. Iba yung nasa bibig, iba yung nasa puso. Iba yung sinasabi ng bibig, iba yung sinasabi ng tunay na damdamin. Nakahati, kaya maraming tao nagkakaroon ng psychiatric problems. Kasi hati ang loob, hindi buo ang loob. Matthew 7:5, you hypocrite, sabi ni Jesus, first take the plank out of your own eye, then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Because this is what happens when people are always trying to pretend that they like what they really do not like and to not like what they indeed really like. Pati yun, ipinapataw nila sa iba. Sa kanilang pagpapanggap, ine-expect nila ang mga tao ay nagpapanggap o ang mga tao ay katulad ng ideal. Kaya lagi na lang tayong correcting others, rebuking others, disciplining others. Samantalang sabi ni Jesus, mapagkunwari, tanggalin mo muna ang napakalaking takip sa iyong mata bago ka dyan mag-pretend na kaya mong tanggalin ang puwing ng iyong kapwa. In other words, Jesus was saying, yung mga nagbabanal-banalan lang yan. Hindi sila talagang banal kasi sila man napakaraming mga kasalanan kung susukatin dun sa law, sa panukat na ipinapataw nila sa iba. The law makes me deny what I really like. The law makes me pretend to like what I really don't. Why? Because the religious system will punish me if they know that I like what I really like and if they see that I don't really like what I don't like. This religiosity drives people underground. This makes people deny their true selves, to live in hypocrisy, and to force others to also be hypocritical. The law drives me to self-denial, self-rejection, self-condemnation. The law, in fact, drives me to pagkahati ng loob. James 2:10, for whoever keeps the whole law and yet stumbles at just one point is guilty of breaking all of it. So, kung susukatin natin ang sarili natin at ang iba sa law, sino ang papasa? Sabi ni James, sundin mo man lahat yung laws na yan, may isa ka lang hindi masunod, katumbas niya na hindi mo nasunod lahat. Everything or nothing. But whoever really is able to obey all the law. Sabi sa Romans, no one is righteous by the law, not even one. Walang matatawag na banal o malinis kung susukatin sa law. So the law drives me to hypocrisy, guilt, fear, torment. Kaya nung panahon ni Jesus, marami mga taong sinasabi nila, napoposes ng evil spirit, na psychiatrically ngayon, clinically, pagka sinuri mo, mga psychiatric cases. Mga merong split personalities, nahahati kasi ang kalooban, ang laki-laki ng pagtitiis, ang laki-laki ng pagpapanggap, self-denial. So, ang nangyayari, para tuloy nagkakaroon sila ng sira ng kanilang emosyon, sira ng isip, na napagkakamalan tuloy na possessed sila by evil spirits. 1 Timothy 4:4, For everything God created is good, and nothing is to be rejected if it is received with thanksgiving. Wala daw nilikha ang Diyos na pangit, lahat maganda. Wala siyang nilikhang masama, lahat mabuti. So yung ating mga emosyon, yung ating damdamin, yung ating mga pag-ibig, yung ating mga desires, yung ating mga pleasures, masama ba yan? Kung masama, ang katawan natin, Diyos ang lumikha. God placed the right nerve endings in the right parts of our body so that we will behave in a very biological, very living way. Tapos mamasamain dahil ang dami sa mga natural desires, sa mga natural inclinations, ang dami sa mga gusto ng tao, dinidemonize ng religion. Minamasama ang katawan at ang puro lang pinupuri ay yung espiritu. Para bang pinaghihiwalay nila lagi ang katawan at espiritu, na ang katawan ay masama at ang espiritu ay mabuti. Kung masama ang katawan, ba't siya nilikha ng Diyos? Ang sabi sa Psalms, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. You were there when I was being created by you yourself. You were seeing my unformed body while it was being formed inside my mother's womb. You knew my personality. At sabi sa Psalm, all the days of my life before me were ordained by you. In other words, you created me to be this, to be that, to be that, to be this. So marami akong mga genetic traits. Ikaw ang lumikha niyan. So para na rin ikaw ang nagsabi ko anong landas na aking tatahakin. But of course, over time, organized and corporate religion demonized some traits and glorified some traits, glamorized some traits. Kaya tuloy yung mga hindi ginaglamorize ang religion na puwersang magpanggap. But why demonize the body and its needs? 1 Corinthians 15:10, For by the grace of God, I am what I am. Romans 7:17, Kung gayon, hindi na ako ang may kagagawan yon sa pagpapatuloy natin, kundi ang kasalanang naninirahan sa akin. Itong totoong nangyayari sa kalooban ni Paul, na sabi niya, hindi naman talaga ito ang gusto kong gawin, kung yun lang kasalanan na naninirahan sa akin, within the context and parlance of religious law, tinawag nila yung lahat ng mga sinasabi ni Paul na ito na nasa akin at gusto kong gawin na kasalanan. Kaya kasalanan ang tawag. It is not really me who is evil, Paul is saying. It is the sin living in me that makes me evil. But what is sin? It is the law that makes me fail. It is the law that makes me sinful, that makes me a sinner. Kung walang law, walang sin. Kaya ako sinful kasi ang daming laws na hindi ko namang kayang sundin. Law na nagbabawal lang talagang gusto ko at law na nagpipilit gawin ko yung ayaw ko naman. So by the law, I am sinful. So when I do what I really like to do but the law prohibits it, then it is that sin caused by the law that makes me do it. In other words, it is really the law that makes it sinful. Romans 2:12, all who sin under the law will be judged by the law. So kung hindi ka under the law, di hindi ka judged by the law. And this is what Jesus came for. He said, I was sent to the lost sheep of Israel. Why? Because Jesus was sent to set people free from the law. And who were the people who needed freedom from the law? The people of Israel. Because they were the people under the law. Kaya dapat yung ministry ni Jesus of freeing people from the law is effective for Israelites, for Jews only. Kaya lang ang nangyari, yung early Christians, inadapt pa rin nila yung law into early Christianity. So pati kayong Christians ay nangangailangan na rin iligtas from the law kasi sila man ay nagpasakop sa law kahit yung mga Gentiles na hindi naman Jews, hindi naman under the law, ay nadamay sa law dahil nung early Christianity ipinasok ng mga leaders into Christian teachings and dogma, yung mga Jewish laws na binrake na, sinira na, dinestroy na ni Jesus. So, that is a syncretism. Hindi na naging pure ang Christianity na nakabase lang sa mga teachings ni Jesus, inihalo nila ang Jewish laws and traditions. So now, Jews and Gentiles who have become Christians get to need that salvation from Jesus, salvation from the law, salvation from the punishment by the law, and salvation from that hell in the heart, hell in the mind, caused by the law. That cannot be obeyed all the time in all situations anyway. To be not judged according to the law, do not get under the law. Do not make yourself like the people under the law. Or let Jesus destroy the old law and make a new one. That's how you exempt yourself from being judged by the law. That is how you escape being judged by the law. It is the sin in me, the law on my mind, the law in the system that demonizes what I do and what I am. Romans 7:18-20. Alam kong walang mabuting bagay na naninirahan sa aking katawang makalaman. May kakayahan akong naisin ng mabuti, ngunit hindi ko nga lamang ito magawa. So parang sinasabi ni Paul, gusto kong bumayat pero di ko magawa. Bakit? Kasi actually, yung kabaitan na yun, imposibleng ma-achieve. Yung kabaitan by the standards of the law. So, by the law, I'm always sinful. What I do is always sinful. Sapagkat hindi ko ginagawa ang mabuting gusto ko, in other words, sabi ni Paul, hindi ko ginagawa yung sinasabi ng law na dapat kong gawin. Ang masamang hindi ko gusto, ang siya kong ginagawa. Yung tunay na ako, pero dinidemonize ng law, yun naman ang nagagawa ko lagi. Kung ang ginagawa ko ay hindi ko nais, hindi na ako ang gumagawa nito, kundi ang kasalanang naninirahan sa akin. In so many words, Paul could be saying, kung hindi ko masunod yung law, kung ang tunay na gusto kong gawin ay yung hindi pinapayagan ng law, kundi yung ipinagbabawal pa nga ng law, di ang nagpapasama sa akin ay yung law. Ang naninirahan sa akin kasalanan ay yung kasalanang inililikha ng law tuwing hindi ko siya masunod, na talaga namang hindi ko masusunod, therefore, lagi akong sinful. According to the law, I am evil. Even when I agree with the law in theory, I cannot agree with it in practice. Yun ang totoo. When I agree with the law in theory, but disagree with it in practice, I condemn myself. Kaya ako laging guilty. Kaya ako natotorture. That's why there is hell in my heart and mind. Kasi, na-convince ako ng religion na yung itinuturo ng law ang tama. Pero itinuturo ng law, hindi ko masunod. Therefore, mali ako. Yung ipinapagawa ng law, hindi ko magawa. Therefore, failure ako. At yung ayaw ipagawa ng law, yun ang nagagawa ko. Therefore, lawbreaker ako. So, yung law makes me sinful. The law makes me condemn myself and others. But the truth is, I cannot follow the law. I cannot do what the law says is good. I can do only what the law says is bad. Yun ang dilema ng mga mananampalataya kay Jesus daw, pero pinaghaharian ng law at nakasubmit sa Jewish law. Acts 13:39, through Him, everyone who believes is set free from every sin. A justification you were not able to obtain under the law of Moses. Laging ito yung binabanggit yung salvation from sin, salvation by Jesus, laging kakambal yung mention ng law. Lahat daw ng naniniwala kay Jesus ay pinapalaya sa lahat ng kasalanan. Ibig sabihin, sa lahat ng kasalanang ipinaparatang ng law, na pag hindi mo nasunod, ang paratang sa'yo, makasalanan ka. Lahat daw ng naniniwala kay Jesus ay pinapalaya na sa kasalanang yon. At yan ay kalayaan na hindi mo makakamit under the law of Moses. Acts 18:13, regarding Paul, this man, they charged, is persuading the people to worship God in ways contrary to the law. You see, Paul, the champion of Christianity, ano ang paratang sa kanya na totoo, kaya yun ay pinaratang sa kanya, itinuturo niya sa mga mananampalataya kay Jesus na mamuhay sa paraang hindi natugma sa law. Pinalaya na kasi ni Jesus ang mga tao sa law. Therefore, ang itinuturo ni Paul ay yung freedom na yun. Romans 7:21, ito ang natuklasan ko. Sabi ni Paul, kapag nais kong gumawa ng mabuti, ang masama ay malapit sa akin. When I want to obey the good law, good yung iniisip nila good, I can't. Instead, I obey the evil or my evil nature. Kasi nga magkabaligtad yung law at yung tunay na tao, yung katotohanan ng tao, kabaligtaran ng idealism ng law. Walang katotohanan ng tao na makakasunod sa idealism ng law. So, ang tao ay lagi lang matatawag na masama. Kaya sabi ni Paul, tuwing nag-iisip akong gumawa ng mabuti, masama ang nagagawa ko. In other words, tuwing gusto kong sundin ng law, ang nasusunod ko ay yung tunay na pagkatao ko at tunay na pagkakalikha sa akin na pinapaniwala ako ng law na yun ay masama. Kaya tuloy masama ang tingin ko sa aking sarili. The more I think of something as bad, the more I like to do it. At hindi ba ako magpapakatotoo? Ang marami sa atin, yan naman ang reality nating lahat. That the more you think of something as bad, the more you like to do it. Romans 3:20, therefore no one will be declared righteous in God's sight by the works of the law. Rather, through the law we become conscious of sin. Dahil sa law, kaya lang tayo nagkakaroon ng consciousness of sin. So, stop the obsession with the law. Stop measuring yourself with the law. Stop measuring others with the law. Romans 7:22-23, sa kaibuturan ng aking puso, ako'y nalulugod sa kautusan ng Diyos. Kasi, dire-refer dito, na para bang kautusan ng Diyos, yung mga laws ng ancient Israel, so yan ang tawag dito. Ngunit may ibang kapangyarihan sa mga bahagi ng aking katawan na salungat sa tuntunin ng aking isip. Binibihag ako ng kapangyarihang ito sa kasalanang naninirahan sa aking katawan. But I see another law working in my body. Kaya yung mga relihiyoso laging hati, laging lito, laging may guilt, laging may kulang. Because there are two opposing laws. Yung tinatawag na God's law dito sa verses na ito, or what I am taught is God's law. Yung God's law, yung sabi ng religion na God's law, yan ang isang law. This is the law that my mind accepts, kasi yan ang uso, at yan ang tinatanggap. But this law demonizes my nature and me. Sa totoo lang, yung mga religious laws na yan ang tinatanggap ko sa panlabas kong behavior, pero sa loob ko, alam kong kontra yon sa totoong ako. Now, there's another law. Natural law, the law at work in my body, in my nature, and in reality, which is really God's law sa dalawa. Ano ang tunay na law? Yung law ng religion that demonizes me and my body? Or yung law ng nature that says and tells me who and what I really am? I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. Romans 7:25, sa pamamagitan ng aking isip, pinaglilingkuran ko ang kautusan ng Diyos. Ngunit, sa pamamagitan ng aking katawang makalaman, ay pinaglilingkuran ko ang tuntunin ng kasalanan. Again, it is called kasalanan because the law calls it kasalanan. So sabi dito ni Paul, in my mind, agree ako sa kautusan ng law. Pero sa aking katawan, hindi naman ako talaga agree. May ibang law that is at work in me. It leads to inner conflict. That's why many religious people are conflicted. In fact, many psychiatrists will tell you, maraming religious leaders actually need psychiatric help. Kasi, yung itinuturo nila at yung tunay nilang ginagawa, madalas magkaiba. Pati sa mind nila, gusto nila laging ituro yung nakikita nilang itinuturo ng relihiyon at tradisyon, pero alam naman nila na mayroong ibang kumikilos na lakas at batas sa tao at laging hindi magkatugma, kaya laging nalilito at marami nagkakaroon talaga ng psychiatric issues. Romans 7:24-25, sabi tuloy ni Paul tungkol sa conflict ng kanyang true nature at nung law, kay saklap ng aking kapalaran, sino ang magliligtas sa akin mula sa katawang ito na nagdadala sa akin sa kamatayan? Sino ang magliligtas sa akin sa law that condemns me? Wala nang iba pa, kundi ang Diyos sa pamamagitan ni Hesukristo na ating Panginoon. Salamat sa Kanya. Sabi ni Pablo, anong gagawin ko? Gusto kong bumait pero di ko magawa. Yung sinasabi ng law, ng religion, na iniisip kong sinasabi tuloy ng Diyos, ay dapat ito ang gawin. Pero ang tunay kong human nature, hindi naman yun ang gusto at hindi yun ang ginagawa. Nagpe-pretend lang ako na ako yun, pero ang totoo, hindi ako yun. Sabi, kawawa ako. Anong gagawin ko sa kalituhang ito? Paano ko makakaligtas sa pagkakahating ito? Sabi niya, alam ko na, si Jesus ang aking tagapagligtas. Sa Kanya lang ako magkakaroon ng kaligtasan mula sa law, mula sa condemnation ng aking sarili, condemnation ng religion, at condemnation ng iba. Christ gave His own body to destroy the law of Moses with all its rules and commands. Ephesians 2:14-15. Christ gave His own body to destroy the law of Moses. With all the law has been destroyed by Jesus to save us from the law, from the power of the law, from the condemnation of the law, and from the punishment required by the law. Pinawalang bisa niya ang kautusan. Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law. Galatians 3:13. Mula sa sumpa ng kautusan, tinubos tayo ni Kristo. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Bakit namatay si Jesus? Bakit siya nasakripisyo? Para tayo palayain, yun ang dahilan. So dapat huwag sayangin ang kalayaan na yan at huwag nang manumbalik pa sa ilalim ng law at huwag nang ipanakot pa yung law. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. Galatians 5:18. So dati ang mga tao, ang behavior nila were governed only by the law carved in stone, masyadong limiting, masyadong restrictive, masyadong nakakakulong. Pero sabi ng Galatians 3:18, pinalaya tayo ng Diyos. Ngayon may Espiritong nakatira sa atin, Espiritu ng Diyos na nagsasabi sa atin kung ano ang tama at mali, Espiritu ng Diyos na nagtuturo sa atin ng pag-ibig, ng pagmamahal sa kapwa, ng kaayusan. Sabing ganon, mas mataas ang ministry ng Holy Spirit sa inyo kaysa ng law na nakasulat sa bato. Sinabi nga yan ni Peter nung Feast of Pentecost na nagtataka yung mga Israelites sa Jerusalem. Bakit ganun ang behavior ng mga mananampalataya ni Jesus? Sabi niya, dumating na yung panahon ng sinasabi ng propetang Joel na ibibigay ng Diyos ang Espiritu niya sa bawat isa, sa lalaki at babae, sa matanda at bata. So in other words, meron na tayong direct correspondence with God. Hindi na natin kailangang i-limit through the temple, through the priests, through organized religion, ang lahat ng pakikipagtalastasan natin sa Diyos. Pwede na tayong kausapin ng Diyos directly at pwede na tayong makipag-usap sa Diyos directly. Kaya nung pagkamatay ni Jesus, nahati ang malaking kurtina sa templo na naghihiwalay sa Holy of Holies doon sa mga common tao. Ibig sabihin, pwede nang lumapit ang lahat sa Diyos directly without the ministration of the priests, without the ministrations of the temple, outside of and liberated from the law. John 8:36, kung ang anak ang magpalaya sa inyo, kayo nga'y magiging tunay na malaya. Now, what's the problem? Modern-day Pharisees take away freedom in Jesus and imprison their followers all over again. They place heavy burdens of legalism and obsolete religious laws on the shoulders of their innocent victims. At maraming ganyan ngayon ng modern day Pharisees. Ang kalaban ni Jesus noong panahon niya yung Pharisees. Ngayon maraming modern day Pharisees. Inaalis na naman nila yung freedom of people, freedom in Jesus, at ibinabalik nila yung mga tao sa pagkakatali sa law. Galatians 4:4-5. But when the fullness of time came, God sent forth His Son, born of a woman, born under the law, and may I parenthetically add, not to perpetuate slavery to the law, so that He might redeem those who were under the law, that we might receive the adoptions as sons. Isinugo ng Diyos ang kanyang anak upang palayain ang mga nasa ilalim ng kautusan. John 1:17, for the law was given through Moses, grace and truth were realized through Jesus Christ. Laging magkakontra yan, magkasalungat. Law was given through Moses, grace and truth were realized through Jesus Christ. The sad fact is, maraming tao ngayon who say they believe in Jesus, pero mas nag-ooperate ang law of Moses sa kanilang buhay. Philippians 3:9, ang aking pagiging matuwid ay hindi sa pamamagitan ng pagsunod sa kautusan, kundi sa pananalig kay Kristo. Galatians 3:13, Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law. Tinubos tayo ni Kristo mula sa sumpa ng kautusan. Doing what you don't want to do, yan ba ang reality mo ngayon? Doing what the law requires? Judging yourself and others by the law? Pinalaya na ni Jesus ang lahat mula sa mga pabigat ng Jewish law. Galatians 5:1, it was for freedom that Christ set us free. Therefore, keep standing firm and do not be subject again to a yoke of slavery. Yan ang tawag ng Galatians sa law, slavery, slave ka. From slaves in Egypt, lumaya nga daw yung mga ancient Israelites, pero naging namang slaves of the law sila. Slaves pa rin. Na iba lang ang anyo. Choose to be free. Choose to live and stay free from Moses-ness. Choose to live and stay free by Jesus-ness. Maraming mga well-intentioned Christians, ayaw nila niya ng freedom, ayaw nila niya ng tinuturuan tayo that we are free from the law. Kasi natatakot sila na bang mga tao mag-abuse, baka ang mga tao ay magwala, baka ang mga tao ay maging puro masasama. Pero di ba sinabi na nga, ibinigay na ng Diyos ang kanyang espiritu, ang banal na espiritu sa lahat ng mga mananampalataya, sa lahat ng mga tao, babae at lalaki, matanda at bata. So, yung panglabas na pagsunod sa law dahil sa takot ang nagbibigay ng kaayusan. Pero, ano ang mangyayari kung ang espiritu ng Diyos ang nananahan sa ating puso? Magiging pakawala ba tayo? Magiging masama ba tayo? Magiging abusive ba tayo? Of course not. Mas magiging mabuti pa nga tayo. Mas magiging mabait pa kesa doon sa mga sumusunod lang sa law dahil takot sa parusa. Dahil ngayon, ang gagawin mo na is out of your motivation of love. Mas maganda pa ang bunga niyan sa buhay pag tayo ay governed by love instead of by the law. Kasi sa law, maraming magpapalusot, maraming nagiging hypocritical, maraming nagiging double standard sa buhay. Pero pag yung spirit ng Diyos ang nananahan at umaandar sa ating pang-araw-araw na pamamaraan ng pamumuhay, mas magiging mabait, matapat, maibigin ang lahat. Huwag tayong matakot na ang espiritu ng Diyos ang muna sa atin, imbes yung law ni Moses, imbes yung law na nakasulat sa bato. Kasi that law was never obeyed anyway by all the people that professed obedience to it. It only condemned people. It made people judgmental of others. Kaya si Jesus, pinilitan ng lahat ng yan. Sa palagay nyo, kaya mali si Jesus that He destroyed the law? That He wants to set people free from the law? Or tama siya? Yan ang dapat pag-isipan natin. Huwag tayong matakot na mawawala ng kaayusan, kabutihan at kabaitan pag ang Espiritu ng Diyos ang